Hi, everyone, and welcome to That 80/20 Girl podcast. I'm your host, Ruchika, and thank you for joining me this Wednesday to hang out. Today's topic is navigating nutrition. In a world overflowing with information, some helpful and some not so much, it can be really overwhelming to know how to navigate nutrition and just create a balanced lifestyle that works for you. Today, together, we'll uncover how to listen to our bodies, embrace key aspects of navigating nutrition, and build a sustainable relationship with nutrition that honestly supports our long term wellness needs. So, if you're ready to take the stress out of eating and turn it into a journey of discovery, let's get started. Before we get into today's episode, I'd like to do a quick weekly recap. In the past few weeks, I've been less active due to the loss of a very close family member. This has been an incredibly challenging time for my entire family, and while I won't go into further details, I just wanted to explain why I missed last week's episode. Navigating through grief has been very tough, and I truly appreciate your understanding and support during this period. I've been shuffling between Bombay and Pune non-stop, and it's just left me no time for anything beyond family. I'm genuinely grateful that I moved to India as it's shown me the importance of being close to loved ones during difficult times. As I take the necessary time to process everything, I'm looking forward to returning with renewed energy and diving back into work now. So now that I'm back in Pune, I'm gradually settling back into my routine and daily life. So, my college roommate who's getting married in November, we decided to host a small intimate dinner at a local restaurant for her. It was nothing extravagant, but it felt special to gather before her wedding in Goa. It's this Maharashtrian ritual, tradition, I don't know what it is, but it's called Kelvan, where before the wedding you host the bride and the groom. But in this case, the groom lives in Bombay, so we just hosted the bride. It's almost like you give her your blessings before her big day. This was a wonderful opportunity to catch up, hear how she's feeling about the big day, and get updates on everyone's lives. We chose this Asian restaurant called Tian in Pune, and the food was just mind blowing. The atmosphere was warm and inviting, making it the perfect setting for our heartfelt conversations. We shared laughter, stories, and excitement about the upcoming wedding, which made the evening even more memorable. It was a lovely reminder of the bonds we share and the importance of cherishing these moments together. I'm really looking forward to the wedding festivities and creating more beautiful memories. Next, let's move on to the highlight of my week. My highlight for this week, now that I'm back and have some downtime, has been watching Tell Me Lies. The second season of that show just dropped, and I'm so here for it. This show is like that indulgent dessert you know isn't great for you, but every now and then you just have to binge on it to satisfy those cravings. For those of you who don't know the show, it centers around a college romance that kicks off with all the intensity and passion you'd expect, but things quickly spiral into a tangled mess. It's got deception, it's got secrets. It's basically like a messy middle where there's so much going on, and the characters they just are navigating their feelings with social media, challenges of young adulthood. It's just a wild ride. It's thrilling and complicated enough that it keeps you hooked onto it. Now the show's season 2 has come, and I wasn't sure what I was expecting, but what I found was that this show is so toxic, crazy, and absolutely heartbreaking at the same time, just like the first season, just amplified now. I'm drawn to all of these characters, and it's almost like I have a want to protect them. But as I watch it, I have a visceral reaction where I also want to kick some of them. You know what I'm saying? I do believe that part of the beauty of this series is that even though the storyline is so toxic and insane, the cast manages to bring it to life so flawlessly. As a viewer, you can see the issues in how all of these characters are so flawed, but you become so drawn to them that it doesn't even matter. The season has been an up and down roller coaster, but it's the one that you still go on, even though you know it's going to make you sick. And if you can trust one thing about this season, it has done just that. Made me sick, and it ends on a note that makes me so mad that I want to hit walls. And that, my friends, is good television. Even if it's television that makes me angry and frustrated, I do know that it's good. It's airing on Hulu outside India and on Disney Plus Hotstar in India. It's been my much needed guilty pleasure in all of this chaos where I put my brain aside and just dive into it. I'm watching it while doing chores, I'm watching it while working, I'm watching it while cozying up in bed. If any one of you are looking for something like that, I'd highly recommend it. Now, let's get into our episode. So, the first key aspect of navigating nutrition, which is utmost important, I feel, is portion control. So, what is portion control? For me, it's about healthy eating without relying on micromanagement, perfection, or sheer willpower. Let's be honest, this topic can be incredibly appealing for those of us with type A personalities. It just suggests that there are right and wrong ways to eat, along with rules to follow that, and if adhered to correctly, it promises success. If we just know the exact amount to put on our plates, we can feel like we've nailed it, right? Many of us believe that we struggle with portion sizes due to the lack of knowledge, thinking that if we just understood the right measurements, we'd be able to make healthier choices consistently. I mean, I get it. I'm wired that way too. But here's the thing, you already know everything you need about portion sizes. Trust me when I say you have the foundational knowledge within you. Over the years, I've learned that navigating portion control boils down to mastering two essential skills. It's taken time and I'm still working on it myself, especially since I've been this emotional eater all my life. But every day that you practice these skills, I promise it gets a little easier. Just like any skill, the more you engage with it, the better you become. The first skill is emotional regulation. The answers to your eating habits aren't found in some nutritional article or infographic online. No shade to those resources, but they can only take you so far. What truly matters is mastering the skills of a naturally healthy eater. As emotional beings, we often react to our feelings with food. When we experience uncomfortable emotions like overwhelm, fear, shame, our primitive brain is designed to avoid discomfort. So, what it does is it nudges us towards seeking comfort in food, which is completely normal because the most accessible source of comfort is food, because that's what we need to survive. And there's always the next meal coming up. So, when you encounter these uncomfortable feelings, it's common to feel an urge to eat emotionally. This doesn't always manifest as a binge on ice cream, it can be subtle. And that is something I suffer from, where it might be that moment where I reach for a snack, not out of hunger, but because I feel that I deserve it because I had a long day. That's what we call emotional hunger, and it's not driven by your body's natural hunger signals. So, to move away from emotional eating, you need to develop the skill of emotional regulation. I know that it sounds a little bit fancy, but it's really quite simple. It's about becoming aware of your emotions so that your body can process them effectively. When you don't engage with your feelings, they can pile up, leading to stress that affects your cravings and weight loss efforts. When you're in a stressed state, it's easy to feel out of control with food, as if you're not even the one making the decision in those moments. We all have been through this, and I'm sure we know that it's happened to each one of us time and time again. Now, the second skill in mastering portion control is honoring your body's cues. We've become far too comfortable delegating our food decisions to external sources, whether it's experts, articles, or online searches for quote unquote the right way to eat. The truth is, your body has already all the wisdom that it needs. It knows when to start and knows when to stop eating as well. So, why should we constantly seek outside validation? Your hunger signals tell you when to eat, and your feelings of fullness indicate when to stop. So now here's an important kicker. Healing your eating behaviors will also require you to heal your body cues. Listen to this again and say this to yourself. Healing your eating behaviors will also require to heal your body cues. If you have a tendency to overeat or eat emotionally, and many of us do, it can be a challenge to listen to those internal signals. It's normal to not feel hungry while you're starving or to not recognize fullness until you're stuffed. If this resonates with you, don't worry, these cues can be recalibrated. It's a process that comes from deeper emotional regulation work. So, by focusing on this internal work, you'll find yourself naturally gravitating towards appropriate portion sizes. Conversely, if you only rely on external knowledge to dictate your portions, you might miss out on the valuable insights about yourself as an eater and you lose that internal control. This happens to me so many times, and I have to keep coming back to emotionally regulate as well as honor my body's cues. So, what I try to do is I will eat slowly and mindfully, and I take a good 20 minutes to eat So that way, by then, my brain knows when I'm full and it exactly tells me that. Another thing I do is I have like 500 ml of water 1 hour before my meal. So it kind of keeps me satiated and doesn't make me jump onto the next meal that I eat and ravenously just scarf down all that food. I want you to understand that if your hunger cues feel off, that does not mean that there's something wrong with you. It's a part of the journey, and with patience and practice, you can retrain your body and mind. Embrace this process and remember you have everything you need within you to navigate your relationship with food. And I promise you, with work and time and patience, it will come to you. Now, let's move on to the next key aspect of navigating nutrition, and that is when to ditch the scale. For many of us, the scale has become a symbol of success and failure, and unfortunately, it often gets tied to our self worth. We've all been victim to this, and here's how this typically plays out. You step on the scale after taking steps to eating healthier and making better choices. Let's say, for example, that you found that you've gained a kilo or a pound, or maybe your weight hasn't changed at all. What happens next? All too often, the inner dialogue shifts to, I failed, or even that I am a failure. Now, let's take a moment to unpack this. The feelings that arise in these moments have nothing to do with the actual data presented by the scale. If the number goes up, fluctuates, or doesn't budge, it doesn't mean you've done something drastically wrong. Instead, what you were really telling yourself in that moment is, I am a failure. This creates a heavy emotional burden of shame, and let me tell you, that doesn't feel good. Not for your body, not for your mind. It's truly important to understand that this reaction is a part of how our brains work. There's no shame in experiencing these feelings. We all have them. But I want to highlight that shame can creep in when the scale doesn't reflect our desired outcomes, and doubt can surface when we do see a drop in weight. Both these emotional responses are more about our relationship with ourselves than they are about the number on the scale. I can't tell you how many times I've had these phases where I have obsessively checked my weight every single day a month and then calculated it. And if by the end of the month I didn't reach that goal where I wanted to lose 3 or 4 kilos, I have just gone on a spree of binge eating for the next 2 days. That is something that is an emotional relationship with myself that I needed to correct. I always believe that we need to consider what our biggest priority is on our health journey. And honestly, don't minimize your experience with the scale. Recognizing that it triggers you in a non helpful way doesn't really mean you're fragile or incapable. Instead, it's an opportunity to elevate your self concept and reshape the way you view yourself in this context. The scale is as neutral as a thermometer. It's simply just taking the temperature of your weight. And when we step on it, we see a number that may ignite certain emotional experiences. And that is where we want to decide what road to take when it comes to the scale. Yes, we all have that nervous system that reacts to external stimuli, and it's crucial to learn how to work with that rather than work against it. But this isn't a sign of weakness, it's a strategy for self care and growth. As women, especially, we often need to reframe the narrative around healing. Seeking healing in any area of our lives doesn't make us fragile or on the verge of falling apart. If you find that the scale triggers emotional responses that are challenging for you, it is a signal that it may be time to address those feelings. I have done therapy for this and corrected my relationship with myself for like an entire year. And that's when I realized that seeking help from a therapist or diving into books that resonate with you or listening to podcasts aimed at healing your relationship with yourself and your body are so helpful, and they go such a long way in regulating your relationship with the weighing scale. The goal is to help you return to your journey with a mindset that views the scale as a tool for tracking progress rather than a source of discouragement. Focusing on nurturing a positive self image and considering what truly matters for you and your health being is of utmost importance. Trust me, the scale is helping you become healthier in a more empowering way, and you need to look at it more as an ally than an enemy. The next crucial part of navigating nutrition is creating balance. True balance, I believe, is the messy middle. And that's what I've heard on one of these podcasts, and it just stuck with me. The messy middle is where real long term results are born. It's the only place where we can truly master healthy eating because here's the reality. We tend to think of balance as this idyllic state when nothing ever goes wrong and we're never faced with challenges. But that's a fantasy, my friends. Real balance is inherently messy. It's about embracing the idea that progress can be chaotic and imperfect. Think about it. Maybe you're traveling and you find yourself at an airport. The best you can do in that moment is grab some snacks from a small store that offers mostly processed options. You might pick up a piece of fruit or a hard boiled egg if you're lucky. The focus here isn't so much on the specific food choices you make, it's about your behavior and mindset during those times. What if you could shift your perspective and recognize that achieving stable results, even amidst that messiness, is possible? Life is not always going to present us with ideal circumstances, and that's okay. The key is to stop relying on external conditions to dictate our success. I have learned this the hard way, and it's taken me years to get to this. But I've learned that foods that satisfy me and understanding how to eat in a way that aligns with my goals is crucial. And it's been a journey of discovery. It's about changing my behavior and being adaptable rather than seeking out a perfect routine. Imagine releasing those expectations of needing everything to be perfectly balanced. What if we shifted our focus from needing our progress to look a certain way to simply building skills over time, no matter how that process unfolds? I've fallen into the trap many a times of needing the perfect meal prep and a flawless morning routine, only to have it all fall apart when my life throws a curveball at me, like an instance would be travel. It's a continuous journey for me, but I'm learning to give myself grace and recognize that it's safe to take the time I need to adapt. Let's redefine what balance means. It's not about maintaining an ideal state, it's about being able to navigate the messiness of life while still making healthy choices. You see, when life gets tough, when we experience grief, uncertainty, and overwhelm, we need to have a way of eating that doesn't depend on perfection or ideal circumstances. This brings me to the concept of the 80-20 balance, like I always say. Aim to eat healthy for about 80% of the time, allowing yourself the flexibility and comfort for the remaining 20%. This could mean enjoying a cheat meal when you're out with friends. Life is going to have its messy moments, and that's where we find our opportunities to grow. Now, let's talk about the last aspect of nutrition, which is motivation to start. We all have to start somewhere, and when we embark on this health journey, there's often this overwhelming pressure to achieve flawless results immediately. This motivation usually stems from a desire to prove something to ourselves, whether that's finally mastering healthy eating or reaching our weight loss goals. But sustainable weight loss is a way of living, and it's rarely a straight path. It's filled with ups and downs. Instead of relying on that fleeting motivation, it's crucial to pause and reflect. Have you truly accepted that lasting weight loss is going to be messy and imperfect? I have seen over the years that this acknowledgement is everything. Your next steps should come from a place of logic, not from the anxiety of needing to be perfect. Remember, developing skills in healthy eating is all about experimentation and adaptability over time. Nothing will happen overnight. So, how can we kickstart our healthy eating journey? Start by setting realistic goals. Rather than aiming for perfection, focus on small, achievable changes. Perhaps you could just add one serving of vegetables to your meals each day and swap out sugary drinks for water. These small adjustments can make a significant difference over time. Embrace experimentation in your eating habits. Think of it like a science project. Don't shy away from trying new recipes or different food combinations. Pay attention to how each change affects you, and remember what works for someone else may not work for you, and that's perfectly fine. Like, I'll give you an example. I cannot eat food before working out, but I have to eat my protein chia seed pudding after my workouts, no matter what. But that may not be for some, because some people cannot go through their day without eating breakfast. And that's totally fine. I'm just wired to eat my breakfast after my 16 hours of intermittent fasting. It's not that I skip it, I just delay it. So find what works for you and experiment with it and have fun with it. Also, prioritize whole unprocessed foods. Aim to fill your plate with a variety of fruits, vegetables, whole grains, lean proteins, and healthy fats. These foods nourish your body and they help you feel satisfied and satiated for a very long time. Tell me one person you know who can overdose on eating protein. You can't, because the way sugar signals dopamine to your brain, all these other foods that give you protein, fibers, necessary healthy fats cannot. As you navigate this path, remember to be patient and kind to yourself. This is one of the most important things I've realized. Setbacks are a natural part of this journey, and instead of viewing them as failures, try to see them as opportunities for growth and learning. Every experience offers invaluable insights and helps you understand yourself better. Lastly, don't underestimate the importance of support. Consider joining a community or finding a mentor or just a friend who can guide and encourage you along the way. Sharing your experiences with others can provide motivation and help you accelerate your progress on this journey. By committing to the skill of healthy eating through patience and a willingness to experiment, you can achieve lasting changes, and I promise you that. Remember, when you delay taking action, you're also putting off a more fulfilling experience in your body and in your life. So start small, stay curious, and take that first step towards a healthy you. Your journey is just beginning, and every small change counts. Just show up for yourself now, and your body will thank you 20 years later. That is a wrap for this episode. Please leave me a note on Instagram at that 8020 Girl podcast, or you could leave me a comment on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to me. I hope you like this episode, and until next time, enjoy your week, and I'll see you next week with a new episode on being that 8020 girl, where we are all about that 8020 balance.